Hello everyone, welcome to Testers Hub Android Studio tutorial for beginners. No prior coding experience is required, just an interest in learning and ChatGPT to assist you. I'm not a professional presenter, but I've spent over a year gathering pieces from various tutorials before I could publish my first app. I've since published 3 apps on Google Play using this same process, each app with different features, and in this video I'll help you set up everything you need to do the same. We're going to start off setting up a shell, which is what I like to call. Basically, it means having all the necessary files, tools, and a traditional XML layouts, as I am more comfortable with that rather than the Jetpack Compose. You also have a custom app icon and a downloadable app. Before we begin, we do need to install 3 core softwares. Android Studio, we need to download Java 17 and GitHub Desktop. All download links are in the description below. I've already installed everything on my machine, so at this point just pause the video, click each link, run the installer, and accept all the default settings. Once all this is finalized, then just launch Android Studio. Then once you're all set up and running, come right back and we'll jump right into the project. Before we get started, let's make sure that Java is installed properly. So by doing that, we're just going to make sure that we have it in our system. We're going to go to CMD, command prompt, select that, type in Java version. The output should show the Java version. If it doesn't come up, that means that you didn't install it right. Just try doing so again. Delete the file if it's still in there and just double click the installer once more. But if it is done successfully, as you can see here, you should be able to see the Java version. Now that we made sure that Java is installed, we're going to continue on to Android Studio by selecting Click New Project. We are going to click on Empty Activity, select Next. And as far as for an app name, for me, I am going to do an app Grocery Pal. You could select anything you want to do or any app. This tutorial will be generic, so you could basically implement anything that you might want to do, or you could just follow along. Here for package name, we have to enter something here. It says originally it says your name app name. It would look like that, or example. We have to make sure that we don't leave it like that. I made the mistake on my first step where I left it as example. Try uploading to Google Play after a few months of hard work, and they denied it because they don't accept anything that has example here or isn't a real name, which then I had to change all my files, and it was a lot of work to do that. So it's expensive. It wasn't expensive, it was a hard lesson to learn. After you pick the package name, we'll save location. This by default is your Android Studio folder located in the user profile. Now as far as for a minimum SDK, we are gonna pick the oldest version, which is 21 Lollipop. Here we go. Your app will run on approximately 99.9 of devices. This basically tells the system you're optimized for the newest behavior and security standards. Also, like the lower number you let more phones run on your app, higher number you give access to new user features. Building configuration and language, we are going to keep it as Kotlin DSL. Once this is set up, we're going to click finish. And it is setting up our project, getting our files ready. So we're just going to wait a few minutes. Once that's loaded, we'll come right back. Now that our project files have finished loading, let's familiarize ourselves a little bit with Android Studio. Here, where all this code is called the editor window. It's the center panel. Basically everything you type in here, you input your code in here. Over here on the left, we have the project tool window. Here you're going to be able to see your project files. If you expand it, you can see all these various folders, and we're going to dive a lot more into this as we progress further down the road. This is more of an introduction video and getting software set up. Up here we have our toolbar navigation. This is basically the virtual machine that it gives you. You can download one, mine's already set up, or if you plug in your device, if it's a Samsung device, well, Android device, it'll come up here and you can run the app directly onto your device. Here's the debugging, and this is how we run. So once this is ready, there are no issues, you can select run, it'll install it on your device, and you'll be able to see your app. Here, if I click run, you'll be able to see a preview basically of what you have. If you have XML layouts, you'll be able to see what you're working on and what changes. As you can see here, hello Android, and that is what we have here. If we go further down here now, we have the build. In this part, you basically see your project files loading, and it shows you what files are going on here. If something arises, if there are any issues while building, it'll prompt them here. If we go down here, we have a Logcat. This basically tells you anything about your project as you are working on it. Say if you were to install your project and it crashes, you can come in here to Logcat and it'll tell you why it crashed, as this example, and then you can try to figure out or debug what might be wrong with it. Alright, now that we cover that, let's dive a little more into getting started and building this shell. Next, we're going to switch our app from Jetpack Compose, where every screen is built in Kotlin language, to the classic XML layout approach. As mentioned earlier, this is a completely code-free tutorial, meaning we don't need any coding experience to write this, but we're going to be using ChatGPT. It'll help us write all this stuff out, and not only that, but solve any problems that might arise as we build our project. So transitioning from the Jetpack Compose to the XML layouts, when we think of that, let's think of it as moving from drawing with paint in your UI to designing it on paper first and wiring it up later. So that's basically the layouts. The layouts will be what we draw out. We'll draw out our UI, and then we're going to come back here, and that's where we program our UI to function as we want it to. So we do it there, and then we come back here. Jetpack Compose, you do it all at once. To get started, let's head over to ChatGPT. Well, before we do that, let's take this here. Let's type in make this activity a activity I can use with a traditional XML layout based on Jetpack. What I like to do at the end also is just provide me the code for it. I've learned the more literal that you are with ChatGPT in your prompts, the better answers you get, and it does not go in circles with you. So here's how you can replace your compose based main activity to a traditional XML layout. Okay, so it gave us 3 different files. Let's start off with what we came in here for. So we are going to copy this. This is basically an empty main activity. So we go back here, paste that. You can see everything is red. It's encountering, of course, some problems, but we'll come back to that after we're done with the files. So we head back to ChatGPT. We're going to need to create the XML layout. This doesn't really tell us that we need to create any folder, anything like that. But as you can see here on the bottom, you'll be able to see the path. And this is the path to the folder which contains this file. So it's res layout, and we name it activity main, right? So let's copy this. Res layout. So we don't have any layout, so we're going to create a layout. So we had new directory, type in layout, enter. Then in layout we hit new layout resource file. We're going to name it activity main. Okay, click here, enter our code, copy that once again just to ensure, come back here, and this is asking for let's see here, let's click here to see the problems, select file, cannot resolve symbol string. Copy problem, head back to ChatGPT, type in your problem. In essence, we just need the string, which is this, and we have to put it in our strings inside this folder. I want to put it in here so you could see basically a process. When you encounter a problem, come here, put it in here, and it'll give you the solution to that problem. The error means you don't actually have a greeting format entry in your strings. Make sure your res value strings looks something like this, right? So we are going to copy this, and we're going to go to strings, under values, strings, and enter. We cannot have 2 resource files nested, so we're going to do 1. This basically means that it's already there. We have the same string, we don't need both, so we can delete 1, and now we have both of our strings. The error message is now gone. It is best that you do everything in strings and not type in your text here, because technically you can. If it says hello, it'll say hello, but if you're gonna be translating your app to a different language, the only way that translates is if you have it in strings, because it basically translates your string file, not your text here. The text here would be what is known as hard-coded text. If we go back to main activity, notice we still have all these that are red. Again, we're switching from Jet Compose to XML traditional layouts. So let's see. What I do is screenshot the problem, copy, close, ChatGPT, paste my image, right? The image contains the problems that were being shown here. Highlight my file, back over here, let's go back to ChatGPT. So what I'm doing here, I'm giving it my problem, I'm giving it my file. It'll analyze both and should give me a solution for that as to why it is that they're showing red. you're seeing a ton of unresolved reference errors because your module doesn't actually have Android X App Compact libraries in your class path. Let's fix that. Add the required dependencies. In your, again, it gives you the path. Make sure you have then hit sync, build, clean project, right? So it's asking us to make sure we have these dependencies. So what we could do, navigate here. It says it's under Gradle, module. There's two different Gradles, KTS, don't get those mixed up. One of them will be app, one of them will be project. So if you go to ChatGPT, it tells you here app. So make sure you go to that one. I know it can be a little confusing at first, but after a little bit of practice, you kind of get the hang of it. So we click on our app, and we don't have any dependencies that are similar to what we need, right? Which is why everything is red. So what I will do is highlight everything, go back to ChatGPT, and say, here is my file, please update with the needed dependencies to fix this error. Do not modify anything outside of this update. At times it's happened where for me it'll update the entire file, change it up, and then it messes something else up while fixing one thing. So I gotten a bit on the habit of every time I put in a prompt, I just ask it not to modify anything outside of what I actually need. So instead of spitting everything out, it gave me what I need to add. Add this, add that. Right, so we're gonna add that. Notice how all these say libs. If you go here, that's what's here, libs versions. It's a simpler way of updating everything. I think for right now we're just gonna put them directly in here and not in that folder as it did up here, right? So I will take all these, this, copy, head over to Android Studio, indent a space, keep it there. I'm gonna delete these comments so it doesn't add extra lines to this code. Once those are in there, I'm gonna hit sync now. If we go to build, perfect, it worked out. Let's go to main activity, and everything should be good to go. As you can see, there are no more errors on the files. You have the necessary dependencies. You could do it here, as you should. You want to keep your whole project the same, but there's nothing wrong with doing it here. It's just more of a preference. So if we go here, click on this little arrow. Okay, good to go. So we can close this file down, we can close this down, we can close this down. And let's try to run our project, see what we get. So I'm gonna click run. Again, I had this already in here, the simulator. If you don't have one, you can go here to device manager, add, create virtual device, and it'll tell you what you want to add, which device you'd like to add. Just follow the instructions from there. But since I already have one, we are going to fire it up here. So it's loading. If we go here to build, you could see all the files running, everything else here. And it said it was successful. So that being said, we should see it up here. Oh, it looks like it crashed. So we're gonna go to our Logcat. This is the device that we're using. So let's scroll all the way down. This red stuff right here shutting down. Right after that, that's when the crash happened, right? So we're gonna take that. We are gonna highlight that. We're gonna copy it and head over to ChatGPT as we did with the other errors. Put that in there and see what caused this crash. Your crash is because you're launching the app compact activity without any app compact theme based applying, right? So remember, we transitioned from XML, well, not from XML, from Jetpack Compose to XML. So we are going to need this theme. So create or update, res, values, again, this is the path, styles. So we're going to copy that. Go down. I like to minimize those so it's a little less confusing and there are a lot less files open. So values and style. We don't have style, so we're gonna create a new file. Style. Okay. Then we're gonna enter the code that we just copied from it. Here we are. Now we go back to ChatGPT. This section we already did. We'll work on more on the theme color as we progress. This is basically, like I said, setting up a shell, right? Getting everything in place so we can move forward. If you have one, Android name. So open Android Manifest and set up your theme on your application. Okay, so let's see here. Android Manifest. So manifest folder will be here. We click on that. So since this is no coded needed experience, what I'm gonna do is just highlight it, take it here, say here is my manifest file. Is it's good to go with my theme I just updated. Yes, your manifest is correctly applying grocery theme, which is the theme that I provided earlier. Couple optional tweaks you might consider: remove the per activity theme if you don't overwrite anything in your, since you're already using this. Okay, same application, you can simplify to this. So what I would do is update changes for me and provide it back. Per activity thing removed, not place. Okay. So now the same level theme applies to all activities, right? Minimize that, come back in here, paste, and let's run our app again, see if it crashes. So now we have duplicate resources. So if you go here, it has 8 errors. Take all that, ChatGPT. I ran my project and this erased. Okay, so you have 2 different definitions of grocery theme values. You only need one. Here's how to fix. Since Android Studio by default generates themes XML, go ahead and remove the style file entirely. Make sure that your theme bar looks something like this. Okay, so basically it's telling us to take what we put in here, basically put it in here, because we had two themes and it confuses the app. So here's one, right? That's a label, and here's the second label. So to avoid that, we are going to copy, delete. Well, actually, let's leave it empty because we are going to need styles. And we're going to go to theme, and we're going to put it in here. Okay, so let's try to run our project again. Perfect. So now we got a successful build. And there it is, hello Android, right? So now it ran through successfully. So just to change up our layout, we're gonna dive more into this a bit further down. This is just a quick overview so you get to see how I do it, basically how I build my apps. Can you improve? That's the file that I just copied. Okay, so what's new? It added a logo, title, and a subtitle. Users can type their name. It's got a greeting button. Let's check it out. So we go here. Nice that. And that's how it'll look. So let's run it. Click run. There you are. Type in your name. Okay. So let's minimize that. And these buttons and all this stuff really right now isn't really functional. All the function is going to be added in your main activity. The function for that layout. So we create a different layout. The functions for it will be managed through that activity or through that fragment. But again, we'll dive more into all that as we proceed. This is basically the shell, as I said I like to call it. One more thing I'd like to do is I like to get rid of this folder. So this folder is how the Jetpack Compose works. Everything is built in here. If we expand it, you could see colors, themes, type, similarly to what we have here under values, right? Theme, style, colors. We're going to be using traditional XML, so we don't need this folder. You can safely remove that. Delete, yes. So now it's gone. I don't need that UI folder either, so let's remove it. Boom, now it's gone. Okay, so this is it. This is what I like to call the shell. From here, we're going to build more again as we go further down the road in our coming videos. Alright, so great work. Our project shell is all set up. If you run into any questions or hiccups, drop a comment below. I'll be active to help out. I hope this was useful and there wasn't any confusion. Again, this is something that it's new for me as well as creating this video. So if there's anything I can improve on, just let me know as well, or anything I can be more detailed. Again, I'll remain active on the comments, so just drop a comment below. Get a thumbs up, it'd be greatly appreciated. But this is our shell to work from. Now what we're gonna do next and lastly to summarize, is we're gonna go to Git desktop, right? So if you haven't already, make sure that you create an account and you sign in. And here in our Android Studio, we're gonna go to version control and create Git repository, right? That path is fine, the default path is fine. We click OK, and there we go. Now it is on Git repository. So if we go to GitHub desktop, you should see your project here. Let me close this out and reopen it again. Okay, well, I guess it isn't there. If it isn't there, add local repository. We'll choose the path. The path was Android Studio, and we are going to click on Grocery Pal. Select folder, add repository. Right, so now we click that project. Whoops. And this is how it should look. This is all that's files that have been changed, everything we basically did. This is what version control is. But before we dive into that, we are gonna go here where it says commit changes. We're gonna save our changes, and we are gonna label this app shall start. Hit commit. Great. So now it's analyzing our code, and it's saying that it is saving our files, basically committed, right? So now if we go here, see now there's 0 changes because everything has been added to how we save it. All our files have been saved. So we're gonna click on new branch, type a new branch. Let's name it development. Create branch. So this branch is going to be created basically of all the changes that we have on our first file. Okay. So if we go back to Android Studio, you see now, notice that it says development here on the left, right? So now that means that we're working on that branch. Again, this is what it's known for, version control. If you want to switch here, you can. You click on that. If you go back here, and now you're back on the other one. You could do the same thing here. Check out. Wow. I personally like doing it here. It's just a little less confusing for me. So we'll go here. Once you have this ready, you're currently working on development. So the ideal way to approach this is every time that you work on your app, you're going to work on the branch, right, which is development. So every time, the next video that we do, we're going to be working off of this branch. What happens is that when you're ready and your changes on that branch are set, your app is stable, there's no crashes, there's no going back, you can commit and you can merge these two. So everything you did on development will be added to master, right? And then you do the same thing all over again. Development, you work on it after that, and then you add it to master, and so on and so forth. The idea is to always have a stable version, which in this case would be master. That, in essence, would be the version control. The best thing about the version control is that if you do, for whatever reason, you made an update, you don't like it, you're unhappy, you can always create a branch off that, off the stable version, right? So create new branch, and it'll again be based off this, and then you can delete. Let's say we didn't like the changes that we did here in development, right? and it's a little confusing to go back because we are learning, and it's a learning process right now for us, given that it's no coding experience, right? So you create a branch off your stable version, which is currently our shell, and maybe let's name it, development 1. So once you have the development 1 branch ready, it goes back to your stable version. Then you can delete development, the one in general, and go back to working how you were working. You build here, you update here. Once stable, you build, you update. And that's what it comes down to. Well, that summarizes it for this week's video. I will do a video a week from now. Again, if you have any questions, please drop a comment. I'll remain active. Next week we'll dive more into a navigation menu, which is maybe we'll do a drawer, maybe we'll do a bottom navigation menu, but we'll build our app throughout a core series of different videos. Again, if you found this video useful, please give it a like, and questions, let me know. Thank you very much, and have a great rest of your day.